Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
I'm with Sharda Ugra and Pradeep Magazine, two of India's best informed cricket commentators and journalists. Both of you, welcome to the Print Debates.
Thank you.
We are
Thanks, Jyoti. Thank you.
We are discussing the politicization of cricket, and what better than to start with a discussion of the renaming of the Motera Cricket Stadium in Gujarat to the Narendra Modi Cricket Stadium. This was announced on Wednesday evening on the first day of the third cricket test match between India and England. So my first question to you, Pradeep, you're in Delhi like me, Sharda's in Bangalore. What do you make of this renaming of the cricket stadium in Gujarat?
Well, this is what has been happening in India ever since 47, I think, because politicians see sports, particularly cricket, its popularity as something which is useful for them, or use it as a tool to spread their popularity. And this government has done what earlier governments were doing, except that maybe they went one step further and renamed a cricket stadium on a prime minister who is an incumbent prime minister. Probably that is the first.
Right. Sharda, how does it matter whether the name of the cricket stadium is the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Cricket Stadium or now Narendra Modi Cricket Stadium? What's it a name?
It's a cricket stadium to start with. The promise that this government gave people saying that we are going to be different from what the Gandhis and the Nehrus did, you have done exactly the same thing. So your whole premise that 70 saal se jo kuch nahi hua, 70 saal se jo hua, not hua, we will be different, that's completely gone out the window. You could have named that stadium. You had a chance to rename a new stadium. You could have named it after the greats of cricket from your region, from the country that you are prime minister of, that your party runs. To choose not to do that does show a certain amount of vanity, and vainglory is the word I think I'm looking for here. And it should not surprise us at all. But all across history, you've seen leaders of a particular type love grandiose structures, and it's the architecture of power that we saw played out yesterday.
So, Pradeep, you know, Vai Satyakumar, who's a BJP National Secretary, in fact, issued a very interesting statement yesterday. And he said, you know, the Nehru Gandhi family, the BJP issued this statement which said that the Nehru Gandhi family has 23 sports stadiums named after it, 28 trophies. And let me just read out a few. And this is, if you look at Vai Satyakumar's Twitter handle, you know, names like the Rajiv Gandhi Gold Cup Kabaddi Tournament, the Rajiv Gandhi Sadbhavna Run, Rajiv Gandhi road races in Delhi, boat race in Kerala. And then there is another one which is quite interesting, which says that there is a judo championship. Then there is a hockey championship, a beach ball kabaddi foundation. I mean, this is a bit ridiculous, isn't it? That everything, you know, you have any championship and it's named after the Nehru Gandhi family. You know, similarly with Indira Gandhi. I mean, you have not just the Indira Gandhi Airport in Delhi, but you have things like, you know, the sports complex in Delhi, the National Football Academy in Haryana, all kinds of names on the Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi.
Well, these are competing narratives that if Congress government has done something wrong, BJP say instead of correcting it, they are saying we will also have, say, if they have 23, so by, say, the end of their tenure, maybe they'll have 50. But is it, if what Congress did is wrong, they promised to correct those wrongs. In fact, the sports minister, only a few months back, when there was a furor about Arun Jaitley Stadium, a statue being built on late Arun Jaitley's stadium named on him, Firozshah Kotla, where Bishan Singh Bedi, one of our greatest cricketers, got angry and upset. He protested. He said that my name should be withdrawn from the stadium stands. And then the sports minister said, and people welcomed it, that in future no stadium, SAI stadium, will be named on a politician. He said that we will try our best to rename even earlier stadiums on the name of sports persons. And now what do we have here? We have an incumbent prime minister which is a rare, I think, which probably would be a first in India, that a stadium is named on him.
But listen, if we're talking about the politicization of cricket, Sharda, the fact is that you have the emergence of Jay Shah, the Home Minister's son, who is, I'm sure, an avid cricket lover. He's part of the BCCI in Delhi. He's a big player in the Gujarat Cricket Association. What do you make of the fact that there are so many politicians who are interested in cricket? I mean, nothing wrong with that, frankly. But how is it that there are so many?
Jyoti, asking me?
Yes, to you.
Yeah, there are so many because it is seen as a turf for them to sort of spread their wings and show their power. Cricket is a very popular game. There have been politicians across board involved in things around connected to Indian cricket. But what has happened in the past is that those politicians from all parties have made sure that cricket somehow stayed removed from their little political, whatever their ideology was, whatever their function was. Cricket functioned on its own sort of independent platform. They would fight in court for cricket. I think in the case, this is the first time you would see that the current regime is stamping its politics over cricket in a very, very open and a very.
No, I didn't understand that. How is it doing that, which is different from what happened before?
It is different because you have for the first time the president of the country coming to inaugurate a stadium named after the prime minister, who in the hierarchy of power is lower than him in the authority of the country. He's the first citizen of the country. The prime minister may be the second. I don't know what the number is, but the president is the first. So for the president to be pulled along to inaugurate a cricket stadium, it's named after the prime minister who comes and reports to him. I find that a little bit weird. If it's not found weird in Delhi, maybe my eyes are wrong. Maybe my brain has got fried, but it just looks very, very odd. I don't think it's happened in the past, like Pradeep is saying, that an incumbent has something named after them. And it is completely out of sync with what is seen as this government's main platform is, we are different. You're not different. You're doing the same thing. You're doing exactly the same thing.
And may I add, Jyoti?
Yeah.
The stadium yesterday is about more than 1 lakh capacity, and 90% of the stadium, in fact 100% of the stadium is colored in saffron.
What do you mean colored in saffron? It's painted in saffron, is it?
Yeah, all the seats are in saffron, orange colored seats. And in fact, even the commentators who cannot speak or cannot speak their mind because of various reasons, and they wouldn't want to speak against the government, even they indirectly had to say that this orange color and the pink ball is somehow becoming a problem because it just kind of emerges. The batsmen find it difficult to play the ball. But the larger issue is that...
Did they make that point, Pradeep? That the pink ball and the orange seats or the orange color or the saffron color is merging into each other?
Yeah, they didn't make it a point that it's this day-night test match, the pink ball and this thing, the batsmen will find it that much harder to spot the ball because in the background is the orange color.
And fielders with catches, fielders with catches that go up in the sky, and it's a pink ball, and if you play test cricket, it's a red ball. Against a background of orange or red seating, it's just going to not work. So this is not thought through completely with cricketing. The cricketing logic behind designing stadiums doesn't take into account a political color. It chooses colors based on the kind of the ball that's going to be used, and the background that the batsman is going to need for sighting and so on. So these are things that I would say hasn't happened in the past. So if you're saying that we are making a change from what used to happen in the past, it certainly is a change.
I mean, that's a fair point, that if you have a pink ball or a red ball, like you're saying, and that could merge with the color, and especially if you're watching on TV. But Pradeep, the question to you is that this politicization of cricket that we talked about, I mean, give me an argument or give me an example perhaps. In the past you've had, apart from the naming of the Gandhi Nehru family, you had Rajiv Shukla, who is a Congress member. He's been very much a part of the cricket fraternity. You referred to Arun Jaitley, very powerful man, the former finance minister. Sharad Pawar, the leader of the NCP, again, very much a cricket, honcho, if you like. So it's par for the course, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Madhav Sindhya, he was the Indian board president, a very powerful congressman. Sharad Pawar, NCP leader, earlier congressman, NKP Salve. There is a list of politicians cutting across political divide. What Sharda was making the point, and I'll add to it, that the board functioned regardless of what their political affiliation was. They functioned as one and never tried that if there was Arun Jaitley, a powerful BJP member in the board, it didn't try to push in more BJP into the board politics. He had as good relationship with Pawar he had with some other politician. So it was a cozy little group which protected their terrain, and that terrain was regardless of what your loyalty is politically. Now what it seems happening is, which I'm sure Congress will repeat when they come into power, is that the state and the sport they are governing are kind of mixing each other into a larger spreading of the message of their own political parties. Look, we are using sports. Earlier, individuals used the sport to spread their popularity, the politicians. Now it's a political party which is using sport to spread the ideology of that political party, which is like adding to what was earlier happening.
So, but is this happening only in Gujarat, Pradeep, or is this happening elsewhere in the country as well?
Well, it's because right now you have a BJP government, and Gujarat Association, Narendra Modi, can say that, look, I was the president of the Gujarat Cricket Association, which he was. So I'm also a cricket administrator. Amit Shah was the president of the Gujarat Cricket Association. Amit Shah would have, Jai Shah, his son, would have never been the secretary of the board, or had the Lodha committee not made these reforms, in which if you have a certain period of tenure, if you have served, you cannot be an office bearer. And if you are a politician and a minister, you cannot be an office bearer. So because of these reasons, the board choose or to have their sons and children and brothers to replace them because they themselves were disqualified. So this what Lodha reforms tried to do and what the board did actually is kind of going from, instead of it becoming better, it's in a way become worse.
In what way? How is it becoming?
Jyoti, technically speaking, what is in court at the moment, we are going back to the court case, and cricket fans sort of roll their eyes when you talk about the court case, that at the moment, neither Sourav Ganguly nor Jai Shah are qualified to be board president and secretary going according to the Lodha rules. They are fighting it in the court, and the court has been just delaying the announcement, delaying making passing an order or taking a decision over months now. So both their terms and their 9 years in cricket administration that you have to have before you have to cool off, both those terms are up, frankly. But is it going to happen? No chance. It's other courts going to be asked to step up quickly and say that we want to remove Ganguly and Jai Shah from power. I don't think so. I'm not holding my breath anyway.
No, but in this particular case, at least Sourav Ganguly is a world-class cricketer. So, you cannot deny the fact that he is...
He's been a very poor president of the BCCI. Very poor, if I may say so.
Pradeep?
I don't think Pradeep will disagree.
Pradeep, what do you think? Disappointed that Sourav Ganguly is there because, he's played for India, he's captained India, he's won the World Cup. He is an internationally acclaimed cricketer.
Terrific to have a cricketer of his stature as president of the board. Great, everyone welcomed it. But very sad that first time a cricketer of such stature becomes president, he has such multiple conflict of interests. He is using his role as a president and also having sponsoring products which are in conflict with his own cricket team. And frankly, a board president sponsoring gambling sites like Dream 11, forget if it was not even a gambling site. The Dream 11 is sponsoring Indian cricket team. It's sponsoring the board president. These are conflict of interest because of which Lodha panel came into existence. And now for an ex-cricketer to do this is very sad, because we are the people who pushed for cricketers to govern Indian board. And if a cricketer also does the same thing, it becomes very disappointing.
No, but you have a problem with the fact that Dream 11 was the chief sponsor of the Indian cricket team when it played in the UAE?
No. The problem is, one is an ethical problem that these are betting
Saurav
sites.
Ganguly was...
Yeah, Sharda, carry on. Say.
Yeah, I'm saying Saurav Ganguly was a personal sponsor of a rival to Dream 11. Right. So you've got multiple layers of conflict, and you've got multiple layers of, just a complete... you can't even say how wrong it is. As in, it's so ethically wrong. It's so tenably wrong. But it's been allowed to happen because it's, Indian cricket, and everyone's happy that there's huge money being made, and let's not rock the boat. So imagine if somebody is sponsoring X particular organization, and the CEO of that company, okay, I'm going to be an individual sponsor of the rival organization, of my own firm that is there. So you've got all these contradictions happening, but there's nothing said about it because everyone's happy. It's everyone's paddling their feet in the water.
But can I just say that perhaps there are some advantages from the very close proximity between politics and cricket. After all, the IPL that was moved, during the pandemic when it was moved to the UAE, there was no way that could have been done without the political class signing off on it.
Jyoti, in the past, let me just step into this, Jyoti. When the IPL had to move in, I think 2009, Pradeep, just correct me if I'm wrong, when there were elections on at the time, 2009, they moved the entire IPL because the elections were going to happen here. It moved, because again, there were those people, cricket people in power, with a connection to politics, that did it. So it's not that this happened only because this particular government was in power. This happened when the other government was in power as well.
And the other government was...
political involvement in cricket has worked all this while. So, it's not necessarily a virtue. It is just a fact of what happens in our game at the moment.
See,
it has always been this.
Right, Pradeep.
Yeah, and what speaks of the administrative skills of the Indian board is that the Indian board was at loggerheads with that government. In fact, they were fighting with the Indian government, which said that they won't allow IPL to be held here because of elections were given the reason. But a lot of people say the reasons were because Lalit Modi and Chidambaram, they were at war with each other, and they didn't want IPL to be held in India. But the board very successfully managed to hold it outside India.
But would you say that this time when the IPL, about 4 or 5 months ago, when the IPL was moved to the Emirates, to the UAE, this was also a consequence of the fact that the political, the government in power decided that, yes, it was okay to move the IPL there?
Politicians do play a role in terms of getting clearances, in terms of maybe helping them to raise more money. But cricket has now become such a sport in India, not today, but over many years, that its independent existence is served better off if these politicians keep away, because they have the money, they have the power. Earlier, the board has been for many years being governed by businessmen, and businessmen fighting with the board. Fighting with the Indian state, not the board, but Indian state, and managing to successfully thwart attempts of the Indian state to force them to do what the Indian state wanted to do.
Give me an example of that.
India-Pakistan matches, like when Dalmia was the board, controlling the board, Dalmia, Bindra, they fought the Indian state saying, no, we will play matches. If not in India, they went to Sharjah. They said, we'll play there if you don't give us permission. They would force the Indian state to tell them that, look, the board does not want to play the politics of the Indian state, leave sport alone. And board managed to do that. There was that period also. So board has enough resources, enough money that they can survive without politicians. I think politicians feel that because the popularity of the sport is so much, just imagine that for 3 weeks now, you have 5 T20 matches in Ahmedabad. You have 4 days of test match. Like for almost a month, every day for 6 hours, God knows how many times commentators will say, what a great Narendra Modi Stadium. See the uses of naming that stadium on your own name.
Sharda, tell me, for example, if you're looking at just the test matches and the one-day games that are going to be played, how much money do you think will be spent in Gujarat over the next few weeks?
In the sense of people buying tickets?
Yeah, people buying tickets, other merchandise.
I don't think cricket at this point in time is needed to revive the economy in Gujarat. Cricket is just a small portion of a power equation that comes into. I was just chatting to Pradeep before this, and I said, let us understand and accept this. When India hosts the 2023 World Cup, the final is going to be held in the biggest cricket stadium in the world. It's not going to be held in Eden Gardens in Calcutta, which is an old ground. It's not going to be held in Wankhede Stadium, which is a newer ground but has its own history. It's going to be held in this stadium. So I don't think the 2 test matches, the 5 T20 matches are anything to do with, it's not an economic issue. It is like a marketing issue. It's what's called place marketing. It's a place marketing and a person marketing issue that is going to take place. We're going to be told how fantastic the stadium is about.
It is fantastic, Sharda. It is fantastic. But my question to you is, Pradeep, that, Sharda talked about the Eden grounds. I mean, that's an old, like a hallowed ground. So there is a power shift that's taking place even in cricket, right? So if you're referring to the shift, say, from Kolkata to Ahmedabad, I mean, what's wrong with that? It is the largest ground in the world. It just happens to be called the Narendra Modi Stadium.
No, it's great that you have another stadium. It's great that you have a stadium with a capacity of 130,000 people. Nobody is being critical of that. And in any case, India has many, many stadiums built over the last 10 years because the board is flush with funds. It subsidizes these building of stadiums. I'm sure even this Gujarat Cricket Stadium, Motera Stadium or Narendra Modi Stadium, 70-80% of the money must have come from the Indian board. Gujarat Cricket Association, regardless of who its president is, whether it is A, B, or C, generates probably enough money to be self-sustaining and build the stadium. So it's nothing new. Nagpur had a magnificent stadium. Wankhede Stadium was rebuilt. Eden Gardens was rebuilt. And India having so many stadiums for the most popular sport in the country, it's great to have these stadiums. I think to link it up with politicians and because of them it's happening would be unfair to the sport itself.
That's right. We saw how Jay Shah, that's Home Minister Amit Shah's son, came into his own in a sense. He was all over the TV screens. He is also a secretary at the BCCI. He's, of course, a big player in the Gujarat Cricket Association. But this emergence of Jay Shah, how do you look at that?
I think it's pretty clear that the player president, that's Ganguly, has sort of taken a backseat to the fact that Jay Shah is the secretary and that he takes all the various decisions that he takes. Had he been any other government's dynast administrator's son, it would have been exactly the same thing. It has nothing to do with their capabilities as administrators. The board runs 2,000 cricket matches a year. It doesn't run it through the politicians that are involved in it. It runs it through their professional staff, which they have reduced the numbers of those professional staff. If I must say, they've got rid of a lot of the professional people that had been hired. So there is this whole thing of what are essentially the president and the secretary are essentially policy makers for the board. They are not the people that decide the nitty-gritties of management. But that kind of power, political people don't want to give up. And that is what has happened. That's what you've seen that's happening in this whole tussle for them to keep the courts at bay with the decision about their tenure and so on. That's what's happening. They're trying to take the management of cricket away from the professional side of it, back into what is their sort of medieval control almost of this, and the entire sort of events around the building of the stadium are part of that whole narrative that they want to say, look, we are going to be the guys that are going to control it. We don't want a CFO, CEO. We don't need all these people. We are the guys that are going to look after things like who's the travel agency that's going to run the Indian cricket team. All really petty stuff that we used to keep going on about. Pradeep and I have been in journalism for more than 30 years, and we've seen this nonsense going on in cricket, but it's reverted to that. It's happened under the gaze and under the control of a player who's the president, and that has been the most disappointing part.
Pradeep, how do you see the emergence of Jay Shah, that's Home Minister Amit Shah's son?
Well, it's a, what do I say? It's a continuation of something which has been going on for years. Politicians are using as I said earlier, the popularity of the sport to kind of further their own interest, their own popularity. Who knew? I'm sure that Sharad Pawar, when he was a state cabinet minister, less people knew him. More people came to know of him when he became the board president, when he became the ICC president. Jagmohan Dalmia, a small time or maybe a big businessman in Calcutta, is known all over the world, is known in India more than many politicians because he was the board president. Anurag Thakur, would anyone have known of Anurag Thakur, say a couple of years back? Just because he became the board secretary or board president, everyone knew. So the politicians...
Pradeep, Vinod Rai. Let's not forget Vinod Rai.
Yeah, so once he became the administrator appointed by the courts, everyone came to know who Vinod Rai is. So look at the vast kind of a popularity which the association with the game gives you. So the politicians, why not? That's what they want. They want popularity, and they link their name to the sport and get that popularity. Does an Indian Prime Minister need that? I think what yesterday has happened is that you have to wonder that does an Indian Prime Minister, that too of Mr. Modi's popularity, need the crutches of a stadium to use it for his own popularity?
Well, perhaps it's just we don't know why this has happened, but Sharda, give me
I don't think it happened without his knowledge. I don't think it has happened without his knowledge. I don't think he was surprised by the fact that the stadium was named after him. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, my question is that, we have Amit Shah's son, Jay Shah, but, give me some other examples of politicians and their children being involved in the politics of sport.
Karti Chidambaram is Mr. Chidambaram's son. He was involved in tennis politics. There was Anurag Thakur is Mr. Dhumal's son, who was involved in politics.
Former Himachal Chief Minister, Dhumal, and his son Anurag Thakur, now Minister of State Finance.
Jyotiraditya Scindia is in the Madhya Pradesh Cricket Association. He is Madhura Scindia's son. We could go on. I mean, there is a
Arun Jaitley's son. Arun Jaitley's son, Rohan Jaitley becomes the DDCA president all of a sudden.
The head of DDCA.
This is
out of nowhere. Yeah. So it's that. That's what's happening.
Right. Last question to you, Pradeep, is, you talked about how the board was sometimes challenging the governments, for example, on the India-Pakistan issue. But in this government, for example, while the Pakistanis have been saying for the longest time and accusing India of violating several agreements and not being able to separate sports from politics, they have been wanting to play India, these return matches. But the Indian government has held firm. They've said that no cricket, no sport until terrorism comes to an end. Do you think that that's the way to go in the near future?
Well, my personal opinion, if you ask me, I don't think state or state politics should be linked up with sports. But unfortunately, it always is. When you want to use sports as sportsmen as goodwill ambassadors, you use them. You say, India, Pakistan, let's build good relationship. Let Indian cricket team go and play. Now, if we are fighting, let them not go. So either make up your mind. Do you want sports to be mixed up with politics, or you don't want to be? Even now, suppose Indian state decides that, okay, we now need to have better relationships with Pakistan. Probably the first thing they will do is have India-Pakistan cricket match.
Well, it's true that you can't have a better and a more exhilarating moment than be part of an India-Pakistan cricket match. I mean, I remember when Musharraf was still president of Pakistan, the former army chief, and the Indian team went to Pakistan to play. I think it was 2000. 6, if I'm not mistaken. And, the entire country, entire Pakistan sort of turned out, greeted them, welcomed them, and, treated them like very special, like stars. So what's wrong with that, Sharda?
Yeah, but you're using cricket as currency. Players want to play each other. They want to compete. Every time you feel that you're in a good mood about Pakistan, okay, we're going to play them. Then you're in a bad mood about Pakistan, okay, you're not going to play them. People keep forgetting that Pakistan came to India and played a few one-day matches just before the World Cup happened. We play them at World Cups all the time. And, for you to sort of try and use whoever is in power at the moment, I'm just saying whether it's the current government, the past government, the future government, they're always going to use this as their chance to do some muscle flexing or some chance to sort of build some, brownie points about Bhaichara and so on. So it's fairly meaningless the way they handle it. It's not handled in a mature manner. Cricket with Pakistan is not looked at in a mature manner. And it's been like this for 30 years and it's going to stay like that until you have mature governments on either side who decide, let's stay away from this and let the cricketers, let the sports people play as they wish. No other sport they will take such an interest in about playing or not playing rather than cricket. A Pakistani hockey team can come and play here. It's no big deal. If a cricket team comes, then, sort of national pride is at stake and all the other nonsense that goes with it.
Well, on this note, imagine if if relations do improve between India and Pakistan, and the Pakistani cricket team comes to India and plays at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. I think that would really be the cherry on the icing of the relationship. But Sharda Ugra and Pradeep Magazine, thank you so much for your time for joining the Print Debates.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.